What's up, guys? My name is Marcus Huskins, and thank you for joining me. As always, if you're finding this content useful, please go ahead, do me a favor, and hit that subscribe button, and I appreciate your support. I wanted to take a moment to talk about the automation views within Studio One, or more specifically, track-based automation versus global automation. So generally speaking, when I'm doing training clinics and seminars in Studio One, there's usually two types of users in terms of people coming from other DAWs who have interest in Studio One, and that is either Pro Tools users or Logic Pro users. So in some cases, these people might be switching altogether. In other cases, maybe they're just learning to look at Studio One and wanting to build their knowledge in this DAW. So if you are, for example, a Logic user, one key command that Logic users would be very familiar with is A, and it happens to be the same in Studio One. A is a global show hide automation. Now, depending on which automation envelope that your track is set to, we can toggle our automation views on or off by using the A. We can also do the same thing by clicking this icon in our GUI, and you'll notice then it illuminates fully in white. But there's also another automation view, and to be honest with you, 9 times out of 10, it's the one that I end up using more, and that is a track-based automation view. So for example, if we right-click in the track header, notice we have Show Hide Automation. Now I've mapped this out to a key command because it's something that I use a lot, but when we enable this Show Hide Automation view for the multi-selected tracks that we have, or just the selected track in this case, we can view the automation without having to enter a global automation view. Now for me, this is pretty usable because it's something that happens to suit my workflow. So coming from Pro Tools, one thing that I would do is in Pro Tools, you had a track list selector and you could choose to look at either the waveform or the automation, different automation lanes, or maybe you wanted to view your playlist. So it's just something that I got used to. But in Studio One, we have the same option by enabling this track-based automation. Then depending on how many automation envelopes you have nested on this parent track, so for example, I could choose pan or I could choose volume. Another thing that we can do is by clicking the H key, we can show the next automation envelope, and by clicking Shift H, we can show the previous automation envelope. So by having this one track selected and right-clicking and choosing Show Hide Automation, then I can just use my H key to toggle through my different automation envelopes. Now, obviously, if I had multiple forms of automation that were written, like if I had effects returns that were, or rather effect sends that I was automating the level, or plugins, or anything that was nested on this track, these would all be visible. We can also choose them from the drop-down menu, if you prefer. But this to me is a lot more useful than, for example, toggling the global show hide, because sometimes if I'm automating a track, I just want to view the automation lane for that one specific track. So I find that useful. Now, another thing to point out is that we can do one other thing as well. So let's toggle our show hide automation, and I can also expand the envelopes, and any automation that's nested in this track will show up kind of like similar to a Pro Tools view where you can have multiple lanes of automation, anything that's essentially associated with this track. And then of course the benefit here being that you could edit these multiple automation lanes together using some of our tools that we have available in Studio One if we wanted to do that. And that's useful sometimes too, but for the most part, when I'm doing automation, I like to just have a nice clean view, and I'll just use this preference, and I will use either H or Shift H to toggle to the previous or next parameter, and then I can extend this, and I can edit my automation as needed. So, global automation versus track-based show hide automation. Two different views, they both have a purpose, and in addition to that, we obviously have the ability to show our envelopes by right-clicking in the track header, and this will show any automation lanes that are associated with this track. Anyways, just wanted to do this video. Hopefully some of you find this useful if you're either coming from Logic and you prefer the global type workflow, or perhaps you're coming from Pro Tools and you prefer the single track-based workflow and being able to move back and forth between the different parameters that are available. Anyways, that's all the time I have available for today. I hope that you found this video useful. If you did, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Any questions, comments, leave them down below. I will do my absolute best to get back to you. And as always, we will catch you in the next video. Cheers.